Hi, I'm Tom Hakeem, and again, I'd like to welcome you to Meet the Candidates, an opportunity to meet the people that want to serve us, already have been serving us. And right now, I'd like to say hi to my good friend, Paul Gieleghem.
Tom, great to be with you,
buddy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Currently the treasurer of Clinton Township and running for supervisor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, for the people that aren't familiar, tell them a little bit about your life personally, and then we'll get into the other stuff.
All right. Well, so grew up in Clinton Township, and then graduated from Clintondale Schools, went to college locally, Macomb Community College, Wayne State University, and first cut my teeth in the political arena literally when I was in high school. I worked as a volunteer for Congressman David Bonnier, and I kind of caught
That
this.
makes me old. I mean, I interviewed Bonnier here too.
So it makes me old because that was a long time ago. And so, worked as a legislative aide in the state Senate. And then as I'm going back and forth, to Lansing with my boss, who was a state senator at the time, I said, who's running for the 31st? Term limits was kicking in. And he said, well, your name came up. And so I went home that night and told my wife that I had just married 5 months previous to that I wanted to quit my job in the Senate and run for the state legislature, for a seat in the state house. And lucky for me, 27 years later, she stayed with me. So
miracle.
My wife is a fourth grade teacher, and I have 2 daughters. And so one, knock on wood here, she's going to graduate from Oakland University with a degree in human resources management. And my youngest is a freshman at Michigan State University, studying marketing. So.
Well, that's quite a journey. We all know about that when you're raising them and they accomplish that, and then from when they're about 13, they know more than you anyway. So they really don't. I don't know why we pay for education and stuff.
Though every stage of that development has been its own unique experiences, and it's been a journey, and it's the best thing that we do, right?
Absolutely. The position of treasurer has its challenges, which you've accepted, done well. The position of supervisor is a new ball game. And so, where do you feel, Paul, that your experience as treasurer has really helped you in approaching this challenge? Okay,
so I guess the first thing is the role of township treasurer is somewhat unique. There's a lot of municipal treasurers out there, right? Mm-hmm. And some of them are appointed officials, finance professionals, and they report to the city council or the mayor, and, that's their job in a sense. There's some cities that actually have elected treasurers, but those treasurers don't serve on the overall governance board, right? Township treasurers have kind of like 3 roles. One, CEO of the community, or rather CFO of the community, dealing with the financial issues. The second is tax administration. And then the third is we serve on that governance board. And so we're one of the votes on that board. And so when it comes to decision making for the community and you're plotting out, hey, this is where we are now, this is where we want to be, this is what we need to do to get there, that's part of the role that I serve on. And so I think it's a natural sort of next step in evolution. And I think what I bring is this, experience of having been the treasurer for 7 years, knowing how things work, having ideas on how things should work, and to be able to get them implemented and hit the ground running. But I think part of that is also, I had an old boss many, many years ago. He had a sign on his door. And it said, when entering this office, never utter the phrase, well, this is the way we've always done things. And that's something that stuck with me. And so things here at the township, if there's disagreement, there's not on most issues, but on some, obviously there are disagreements. But it comes down to this is the way we've always done things. And I think some of us that say, look, we can't do them that way anymore. We see the world around us changing, and we need to be able to change with it.
That's an interesting point. it's kind of in the township. I mean, people don't have the greatest knowledge. People know the board works. They know what to expect. There seems to be sometimes always the negative gets highlighted as opposed to the positive, and some infighting on the board and political issues. And where do you see yourself in having and being able, as the quarterback, as the supervisor, as the referee, more or less, how do you see smoothing that to be able to accomplish more and more of what you have in your mind that you really think we really need to get done?
Sure, yeah. So here's the thing. I mentioned that I had served in the state legislature. I also served on the county board of commissioners. My colleagues elected me to chair the board of commissioners prior to us having the county executive position. So in a sense, I was in that position. And that was 2009 and 10. It was in the wake of an economic crisis. The housing values were literally falling through the floor. There was this glut of houses on the market. And we said, there's no way we're ever going to fill all these houses. Now, there is, amazing how the economy changes, right? Now there's not enough housing on the market for that many people that want to buy them. And so we see property values skyrocketing. And of course, not the tax revenue coming in at the same time. But, so I was running the county in a time of crisis. I think anybody can steer the ship, in the good times.
Right.
But when the waves are rolling and the sea is rocky, then, that's when I think you really earn your stripes. And it's one of the things that I did, brought people together to try to solve problems. And so it's a blend of the experience I learned in Lansing, the experience I've learned at the county board level, managing the county throughout a crisis. And it's one of the things that I think we need to look at through a wide-angle lens. Where are we at now as a community? Where do we want to be, and what do we need to do to get there? But then bringing people together to solve those problems. But Clinton Township's not an island. And so we are interconnected with all the communities around us. We are interconnected with the county. Clinton Township, like all municipalities, is a political subdivision of the state of Michigan. So we derive our authority and our responsibility from the state. And so I've worked with legislators to solve problems, and the people that we elect to send up there to Lansing. My message always to them is, look, I've been there, done that. I don't want to be your legislator. I don't want to do your job now. But when you're making decisions that impact us, I want you to work with us. I don't want you just working with the lobbyists or the bureaucrats from the departments that are saying, hey, this is what we're going to do and it's going to make our life easier. I want you talking with the people that represent the folks at the local level, because we're here every day and we're listening to people directly, and we want a voice and a seat at the table when those decisions are being made.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So away from the political issue, talk a little bit about I know you get very involved in the community, some of the community service and the projects you've been involved in since, and I mean, even way back from when you first got here, because I know a lot of things go way back, but some of the more current stuff that's gone on, because, it is a great township. Yeah,
but I agree wholeheartedly, but here's what we need to think about. What's the next wave? We're becoming an older community. We're in this transition from being an outer ring suburb to an inner ring suburb. And when that happens, your cost structure goes up. Our older neighborhoods are 70 years old. Our newer neighborhoods are 20 to 30 years old.
Yeah.
And we're needing upgrades. And so when you're in that situation, you have to look at it from a standpoint of, how do we serve everyone in the community? How do we reach out to every neighborhood? How do we make people feel a part of this? And so it's about making this an amenity-rich community that people want to live in, that they want to stay a part of, that they want to make their home, that they want to feel proud of it. And community service is a big part of that. So one of the things that I took on that when I first became treasurer, my predecessor, Bill Sowerby, had done it for many years, Nancy White prior to them, coordinating the blood drive for the community. We're one of the largest blood drives in all of Southeast Michigan, and certainly one of the longest lasting, 26 years now strong. I've only done it for 7, but when I accepted the job, Bill said, "You're also taking this on." And I said, willingly, absolutely, I want to do this. And so we've kept that going. Even through a pandemic, we were able to keep a blood drive going. And I think that's a testament to, one, my staff that helps out with it, but the community at large. Some of the other things, when I talk about how do we make this an amenity-rich community, one of the things, I got a constituent letter in my office one day. The lady who's a resident has a disabled child, kind of grown now, but she's obviously involved in the community. She said, "Have you ever heard of inclusive playgrounds and the importance of them to a community?" And so this is a playground that's built for everybody, but is designed to accommodate those kids with disabilities. There's a socialization impact for those kids playing together, right? They shouldn't be, "Oh, this is what's available for you over here, and then all the other kids are going to play here," right? So when you start to realize that concept, you're like, "Oh, okay, are we really serving everybody?" Then we did the research. And what we found out is that Clinton Township has a much higher percentage of families where somebody in the family has a disability. And so it's like, we need to figure out how we serve those folks too. And so we organized a committee. I said, "Okay, I'll do this. I'll take this on. I'll help organize a committee, but I need you to chair it, because you can speak to these issues from a very personal perspective." And so then we went out to start raising money for this. So we limited the impact on the township budget, but that we then reached out to the community. One, get their buy-in, make sure that they're part of the process, that they recognize that this is an important initiative. And then 2, have them be a part of it. So we are close to putting shovels in the ground. $1.4 million project. I talked about working with legislators. Our legislators provided both Denise Menser, Veronica Kleinfeld, came up and championed a $1 million state grant and some money from the township and what we've raised from the community. We're building something that is going to help us serve everybody.
Beautiful.
So those are kind of other thing I'll mention, one of the important things I think in this business is you never forget where you come from. So when I was in many years ago, I was approached by my alma mater, Clintondale High School. They said, "We have this foundation that raises money for scholarships and mini grants to classrooms and, help teachers buy the things that they need for their classroom that aren't necessarily part of the budget. So will you help us? Will you help us organize this fundraiser?" So I've been on the foundation for 20 years. But I've been the treasurer of that foundation now for 7 years, and it's been one of the great projects that I work on, because I'm helping those students that came up after me. That and when you do that, what you're doing is, again, first of all, you remember where you come from, but then second of all, kind of paying tribute to those people that helped you along the way.
So you've had success, and you've had some trials that basically always don't go your way. What is the one main, which is hard to narrow down, the one main thing that you feel hasn't been accomplished, that in the event you get elected, you can't do it yourself, but would become a priority to you?
So again, all of these things revolve around how do we make Clinton Township a community and give residents that pride of ownership and, connectedness to that. That means we need to build recreational opportunities. We need to improve our parks. We need to create those amenities that give people that sense of pride that is serving every neighborhood. So expanding services out to everyone, not just in and around here in the Civic Center. The other thing I would mention is if, we did a strategic plan and we asked people to identify what is the most pressing issue. And it was, without a doubt, over the top, the condition of our roads in Clinton Township. And so they asked me to chair a committee. So I said, absolutely, I will take that on. And one of the things we found is no one understands how roads are funded.
Right.
No one understands who's making the decisions.
Right.
And so we set out, including the people on the committee, You know, I mean, I've been a legislator, I've been a county commissioner, but now I'm at the local level. But I don't have a full appreciation for all of the ways that the money flows. And so we set out a committee. We mapped road funding. We now know how it works. And by knowing how it works, we can compete better for the available dollars that are there. Now, there's not enough money, but our roads are under the jurisdiction of the county.
Right.
Because we're a township. So we take on the responsibility, but they have all of the control and authority. So, you know, responsibility without authority is a tough thing to manage. Right. But here's what we've done. Got infrastructure money, and we started to build you know, how much of this infrastructure money can we put into roads as match money? Because every road project requires a match. Mm-hmm. And so we've done Gratiot, we've done Groesbeck, we've done Hull Road, we've done Garfield, now we've done Hayes, we are doing 18-mile road right now, we've done Quinn Road. So we've really worked hard to accelerate the township's investment with those federal dollars into those major road projects, mm-hmm. right? That has meant more investment coming in from the state, from the county, from the federal government. And so what we put in, we maximize it because we bring in that much more money from other sources. So huge level of investment that's been accelerated. But the other thing is, how do we make decisions on which roads are going to be funded? It used to be a few people got together in a room where, there's a call for projects. And, so we've gotten a lot of calls on this, a lot mm-hmm. of calls on that. I said, no more arbitrary decision making. We're going to do a scoring matrix. We're going to look at what the condition of the road is, what the traffic counts are, what the crash data tells us. Do we need improvements because there's been too many crashes? Look at where our amenities are, the hospitals, the churches, the schools, the things that people need to get to. And then, because all three branches of the Clinton River flow through Clinton Township, where are there flood risks, things like that, equity formulas. So now we run that through the scoring matrix and it says, this is the next road we're going to do when there's a call for projects.
Makes sense.
But the biggest challenge is the subdivision roads.
Yeah.
And that requires a special assessment district. And that is an alarming amount of money for residents. Yeah. And we need to figure out how we lower the cost of that. All of this, of course, is guided by a state funding formula called Public Act 51 of 1951, and it has not substantially changed since 1951. And so we are asking our residents, we put it together. Not only are we doing this internally, but we're playing the outside game too. We're trying to engage our residents, get them to our website, look at the presentation and the videos that we created, and then ask them to send a letter to the legislators to say we need more money for subdivision roads. We need to make that investment.
So in the next 2 minutes, I'll give you a little leeway. Mm-hmm. Tell the people Clinton Township why to vote for you as the next supervisor.
Okay. Well, I think it's a combination of experience, commitment, passion. I grew up in this community. It's where I've raised my family. I'm vested in it, and I care about what happens to it. And I know that we need to position us to compete. And so so that experience, the passion, as well as what I've done in the past. Everyone said, well, don't you want to run for supervisor? When I ran for treasurer, I said, my first step is to be a good treasurer. Mm-hmm. And so that meant, one, I came in with experience having worked at the county treasurer's office, so I had the tax administration experience. You're a finance guy, and this is complicated, and people in your industry speak a different language, don't they?
Yeah, for sure.
So you have to, first of all, learn all that. So one of the things I did when I came in is I went to the finance office and I said, I need monthly cash flows. If I'm responsible for these investments, I want to figure out how we maximize them. Tell me when the money's coming in, when it's going out. Right. And then that allowed me to create an investment strategy that exponentially raised the amount of returns that we get, but doing so safely. We can't risk principal. So that has meant about $6 million coming into the township over and above the tax revenue and money that we get from the state that comes in, $6 million on top of that in investment earnings since I've been treasurer. And it's been about $500,000 for our local school districts, money that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten had we not managed those finances well. So that's the commitment I brought to that job, and it's the commitment that I'll bring to supervisor as well.
Well, on behalf of myself, obviously, the people here at CTTV and the township, first of all, I want to thank you for venturing out to continue your public service. In today's world, that is not an easy task that
Sure.
I would wish on most people. You're making a commitment to change things in an environment that's a little difficult, but then that's what the challenge is all about.
But it's about bringing people together just like in any other industry, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So once again, thanks for spending some time with me. I want to wish you the best in your election efforts. And Paul Gieleghem, our treasurer, now running for Clinton Township Supervisor. This is Tom Hakeem on Meet the Candidates.